these things, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. Then a great multitude followed him, because they saw his signs, which he performed on those who were diseased. And Jesus went up on a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. Now the Passover feast of the Jews was near. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes, and seeing a great multitude coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread that these may eat?" But this he said to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may have a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There's a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, but what are they among so many?" Then Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was much grass in that place, so the men sat down, in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to his disciples, and the disciples to those sitting down, and likewise of the fish as much as they wanted. So when they were filled, he said to his disciples, "Gather up the fragments that remain, so that nothing is lost." Therefore they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves which were left over by those who had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the sign that Jesus did, said, "This is truly the prophet who is to come into the world." I hope you were made aware of it, but whether it was conscious to you or not, you went to Peru. You went to Cusco, Peru. Maybe you weren't there in person, but you were certainly there in spirit, because you contributed to an effort which helped, as our scripture reading gave us insight into, which is to take the gospel into all the world. Maybe not in the way you maybe think of it being brought to the people, or maybe not to in the manner or in such a way, but you helped in some way to bring light to people who desperately need it. You might not even know where Peru is, but it's in South America. You might not have ever heard of Cusco, but it's in Peru. This was a trip that was almost kind of brought up jokingly with a friend of mine who went with me, but it happened, and it was something that I wasn't sure what it was going to be like, what all was going to happen, but it's something that after I went and after I'm back, I can reflect on it. It's something that I would definitely do again. Cusco, Peru. I presented pretty much the same material to a church in Tennessee probably a few weeks ago. One of the supporting churches that really helped us get what we needed to go. And I guess for them I didn't need to give a backdrop, but for you I think you probably needed to understand how all this unfolded. You might remember a little girl named Gabby Cook, who has been battling cancer for close to a year now. She is the daughter of Matt and Charlotte Cook, and Matt is the son of Randy and Beth Cook. And if you have any knowledge of what goes on at West Virginia Christian Youth Camp, you might have heard of those 2 names. But great people and good friends of mine. And Matt, of course, was a part of a mission team, a group of 3 families that decided to go and live in Cusco, Peru. I guess this probably was about 3 or 4 years ago, and they have been there ever since. But because their oldest daughter, Gabby, who I think is close to 3 now, came down with liver cancer, they had to come back to the States and have been here ever since, just because medical care there is not sufficient, and they had to make the decision not to return there. But that, of course, is their family. Connor is the youngest, and this is the larger mission team. Barton and Allison took it upon themselves to evangelize Cusco, Peru. Cusco, Peru being a city of approximately 500,000 people who are very diverse. It's almost amazing. I've talked to quite a few people about this, but I don't think I've ever been to a place that at one point you can see an industrialized city. Almost you can go and it looks like a modern day America almost here in the States. But you just go down a few blocks and you see complete poverty. And so it's just not something I've ever seen before. As the slides progress, you'll see plenty of slides. That one's not as clear as it needs to be, but that's the living room. I stayed with, of course, Matt and Charlie, you have to know, weren't here at this time. They were back in the States. This was the end of March. And so my friend and I, James, who is the youngest son of Randy and Beth, we stayed with Gary and Jennifer. And just great people who opened up their home to us, people who have all kinds of responsibilities already, trying to grow a church there, trying to conduct Bible studies, trying to conduct the worship. It's just a lot for them to carry, especially with a family down. Again, there were 3 families, now there's 2. They're looking for another one to come and take their place, but just a lot of responsibility. And so for them to open up their home to us and allow us to come and work with them was just a great hospitable thing for them to do. That's where we stayed on the 3rd floor of their apartment. Again, just to be there and see how people live is just something amazing. Again, once you get into the city, it looks a little more normal to, I guess, our eyes. But you just look, I think I have a picture just on the countryside, up on the mountains. I mean, people farm up there, and people, I don't know if you can, all this is just a market that was set up on a Saturday when we got there, and this is the view from the apartment building. But people, of course, bring their produce down to the market and they sell it. And so you see fresh fruit, fresh meat. When I say fresh meat, I mean fresh. There's cow heads, cow tongues. You can see their eyes looking right at you. It's pretty disgusting, but that's how they do it. Here is 2 elderly women carrying some sort of sacks, 2 sacks of, I forget, maybe it was potatoes or some sort of produce. But you can't really, the picture doesn't do it justice, I wish it did. But this is a blanket tied around her neck, and there is a small child in there. And so carrying the sack full of potatoes or whatever it was, and the child on her back through the market in the hot sun, that's what you see there in Cusco, Peru. But just all kinds of markets that I was able to go to and look around, and I wanted to eat, good stuff. But just a totally different culture almost. Again, I wish better picture, but that's what you get. Just a place in the market. These are poultry, and then might want to turn your head. Those are guinea pigs, and so you kind of go pick out your chicken, take it home, kill it, eat it. But also, if you want something good, you pick out your guinea pig and take it home, and your mind runs from there. But guinea pig. This is Peruvian fast food. You have some sort of ice cream there. It was pretty good, and cheese sticks. And so, it's like, I really don't know. It has different stuff. They actually have McDonald's and Subway, places like that there, so I'm not going to compare it to those restaurants, but you get the idea. Again, I have all kinds of pictures I can show you later, but this was just a pretty neat picture. Again, I wish it was a little bit clearer. Goodness. This was alpaca, and I'm glad that I ate the alpaca after or before I met the alpaca. Because I guess it would have been hard to swallow after meeting the alpaca. But you have to pay the lady to get your picture taken. and this is overlooking the city. Again, you see the mountains, and I'll show you even taller mountains. You know, the mountain ranges there are just unbelievable, overlooking the city. And there's, of course, the llama and the alpaca and the baby alpaca. So, and this all took place overlooking the city. The Cristo Blanco, which is the white Christ, overlooking the city, and it lights up at night. And I'm trying to be like Jesus, I guess. So, that's the Cristo Blanco for you. But to get what I want us to get out of this, which is why I was there, which was to help the church there. And the church is located just right there in the city streets. It's actually right next to a pharmacy. And the pharmacies there are pretty different. I mean, a pharmacy is like almost a doctor's office. You go in, you tell them, well, I have a headache, and he gives you what you need, and you walk out. So it's a little different than what we think of. But it was right next to a pharmacy. And it used to be a theater that they bought and have they've worked on it and did a lot of painting since they've been there, and so it's a pretty nice building, I guess you could say, for what you can get down there. I mean, you have to understand what buildings look like and just what people live in. So you can't really expect much, but this is where they worship on Sundays. Worship starts about 11:15 for them, and then Wednesday they have in-home Bible studies, and so they'll go to one of the homes of the mission team families and have a Bible study there. This was when we started painting, again putting the primer on there in the auditorium, and I wish these pictures were better, but that is me painting. I know how to paint, so just so you know. But really, that was our week-long project that started on Monday. We wanted to paint the auditorium. It was in desperate need of a new coat, and so we painted the auditorium, and also they have quite a few classrooms, and so we helped paint those as well. And so with the money we were able to raise, we were able to completely pay for the supplies needed for the entire cost of the trip, and even had some left over to give to the mission team. I think they had some future projects they wanted to undertake in. I know while we were there, they were finishing putting carpet in, which was to help with the acoustics. Again, the building, not real good for singing, and so carpet was going to help tremendously. Again, that's the finished product, I guess you could say. Yeah. Just a side story, I guess. They have 2 female interns working with them, 2 who have been through some form of medical school, I think. Graduated from Faulkner University in Alabama. One's from Alabama, I think one's from Florida. But 2 female interns that are there to help. Again, every spring they have mission campaigns, medical campaigns. And so a lot of people come down, doctors who are members of the church, and kind of help provide medical care, and just a big thing they have there at the building, as well with different campaigns throughout the year. But they're there to help. And here we were trying to get a ladder into the auditorium. It was up in the attic, kind of, I guess you could say. So we brought it down, and we couldn't get it through the doorway. It was too long. We couldn't get it through. And so we thought, well, how are we going to get it there? So we tried the baptistry. And so we had the interns kind of knee-deep in the water and trying to get the ladder through. We couldn't get it through. So finally someone showed up and had a key to the back door, and we were able to maneuver it through the busy streets of Cusco, around and back through the auditorium, and we're able to use it then. So painting was a hassle, I guess you could say. And finished product, again, the carpet's down, and of course, worship there is in Spanish. So, singing in Spanish, reading scripture in Spanish, the sermons in Spanish. So kind of hard to follow, kind of hard to understand. I know some Spanish, but not enough to get by, for sure. So here they are practicing on Friday. That they do this every week, running through the worship, so they're prepared, so they're ready. Because to them, it's vital that they have worship down pat. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but I mean, they're trying to make an impression on people. People who don't know what they're about. Again, they're competing for other religious groups' population. I mean, there's other groups down there besides them, and so they have to know what they're doing. They have to do it well, and they have to make a good impression. And so they have to know Spanish. They have to know how to lead singing. Just all kinds of factors that go into how they are evangelizing and growing the church there. Some more pictures. This was the last night we were there. It wasn't supposed to. This was Friday. No, this was Saturday evening. Our last night there. It wasn't supposed to be. We were supposed to be in Los Angeles at this time, but because some miscommunication on getting tickets, we thought we were leaving a day earlier than we were. So anyway, somehow we got involved with this Bible study over Skype. These Peruvian women who were scattered, some were even in the United States, but scattered throughout. Their goal was to every Friday night have a Bible study. And so James and I tried to help out with that. Luckily, I had my computer with me, and we were able to throw something together at last minute and help out with that. And so that was an experience. Luckily, they spoke English, and so I didn't have to try to piece together, sentences in Spanish, which I know wouldn't have made sense to them, and just would have been terrible. But I mean, that was a great opportunity, and glad we got to be a part of that. On Wednesday, we kind of took a break, I guess you could say, and went to one of the 7 wonders of the world, which is Machu Picchu. And I think natives there pronounce it in a different way, but Machu Picchu is how I'm pronouncing it. And it's just this tall mountain that the early natives built their homes on top of, and temples. And we were able to go up there and see the ruins. I forget the name of that mountain, but this is Machu Picchu, and that's the mountain above that you can climb up, but it's very dangerous. I mean, really, you go up there, and you could fall off very easily. I mean, it's almost kind of scary, almost. How high up you are. Now, I got some more pictures. This is from what they call the Sun Gate. We hiked up. This is actually taller than the mountain right there that you can see that we just looked at in the previous picture. But it was a hike up there about 20 minutes, and it was raining, and we had to have jackets with us because it got kind of cold at times, being up there. I mean, high elevation, and it was just an experience being there and looking out and just seeing history before you. And at the top they had alpaca, which makes me wonder how it got there and why it's there. But anyway, what? Vicuna. So it's just being there. I mean, it was pretty amazing. I have quite a few pictures, but I was only able to put a few. And this is the picture. Again, it's not as clear, but that's kind of overlooking Machu Picchu. We were able to raise a little over $4,000 with donations from churches, including right here, and private individual donations. We were able to raise more than enough, and were able to give that back, what we had left, to the mission team there. And so they're going to put that to good use, and good things are happening there. They have, I guess, an average attendance of around 70 to 75, and they've kind of hit a wall. But again, that's churches everywhere. You hit that wall, but they're continuing new things, and a lot of progress is being made there. But churches such as right here, Tandyville, Stantonville, Tennessee, Camden Avenue, Barracksville, a church in Oakland, Maryland, the Oakhurst Church where the Cooks are from, just a lot of people can really take partial credit in this, because it wasn't just two people who, well, for me, haven't been out of the country before, but it wasn't just two people who didn't know what they were doing, going down and hoping to make something happen. It was a lot of preparation on the missionaries' part and a lot of support on a lot of others that made this possible. And I would say it was a success. Just from the standpoint that you have these three families who have put so much heart and effort and time, years into this project in Cusco, Peru, and to have one family torn from that inner circle that they have and still be able to carry on there, just to go down and provide some encouragement for those two families was something that was just, it made the two of us feel good, and I hope it helped them. But at the same time, you go down to provide encouragement for them, but you yourselves come back encouraged. And so it was just a great trip, a great experience. And I'm sure I could go on and tell so much more, so many more pictures, but you can't really put it into words. Just going to another country, seeing how people live, seeing how they interact, and seeing them being receptive in some form or fashion to the gospel is an experience that I hope each of you can experience in some way, whether supporting from back home or going yourselves. I read earlier from John chapter 6, and if you want to turn there, you can. John chapter 6. And I'll read the text again, and hopefully we can make a couple observations, and hopefully pull together and make a plea. Chapter 6, verse 1 of the Gospel of John. After these things, Jesus went over to the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. Then a great multitude followed him, because they saw the signs which he performed on those who were diseased. And Jesus went up on a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. Now the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was near. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes, and seeing a great multitude coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread that these may eat?" So oftentimes we find Jesus first and foremost meeting a physical need of the people. And so here he is, a great multitude following him, 5,000, not even, I think it says not even counting the women and children, a group of people who are following him because they see the great signs he is doing and seeing the great things he can do for them. He sees them and he has compassion upon them because he sees them as people who are hungry, who are trying to follow him, and he wants to return favor by helping them. So he lifts up his eyes, sees the multitude, says to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread that these may eat?" And Philip answered, "But this he said to test," or Philip answered in verse 7, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may have a little." And so, here we go. Jesus wants to do something great. He has his 12 followers with him, the 12 apostles, the ones he has appointed, the ones who, Matthew 28, he would send out into the world to preach and evangelize. And here they are doubting him, doubting his ability, doubting how he is expecting them to do anything great. I mean, here's a great need, a great expectation, and they're fearful. They're wondering how he's going to manage this one. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, "There is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, but what are they among so many?" And you can almost see just the way he asked, a rhetorical question. Well, here's 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they going to do? They're not going to amount to anything among so great a people, so great a need, and yet they don't understand. Then Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, when he had given thanks, he distributed them to the disciples, and the disciples to those sitting down, and likewise of the fish, as much as they wanted. So when they were filled, he said to his disciples, "Gather up the fragments that remained, so that nothing is lost." Therefore they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. Then those men, when they had seen the sign that Jesus did, said, "This is truly the prophet who has come into the world." We so oftentimes, whether we are aware of it or not, are just as doubtful and fearful and unsure as these apostles were. They see the need. That is to help people who have no one to help them. And they see an individual who has the ability to provide that help to them. And they're the in-between people. And they don't see how they can be effective in helping those people. They lack faith, they lack confidence, and they don't see the abilities that they already possess. They don't feel adequate. And so oftentimes, we, in the midst of a commandment that Jesus makes quite a few times in quite a few different ways, of going out into the world and commissioning us to evangelize and meet the needs of people, physical and spiritual, and yet we have the same doubts and the same fears, and we feel the same inadequacies, and we feel incapable, and we don't think that we can be used to meet those needs. And yet Jesus would use fishermen, he would use shepherds, he would use people at the lowest, at the bottom of the totem pole. He would use those kind of people to make great and everlasting differences in the lives of people who desperately need a change in their lives. And in the same way, he asks us to step out of our comfort zone, to step out and take a risk that we can help the cause of Christ in some way. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, Paul would make a plea to the group that the church there in Corinth that he wrote to. And as he makes this plea, he says this, beginning in verse 17 of chapter 5, 2 Corinthians. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away, behold, all things have become new. Now all things are of God, who has reconciled us to himself through Jesus Christ, and has given us the ministry of reconciliation. That is, that God was in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not imputing their trespasses to them, and has committed to us the word of reconciliation. Therefore we are ambassadors for Christ, as though God were pleading through us. We implore you, on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. And so, through us, through whatever we're lacking, through whatever we think that we can't do and could never do, he says, give me what you have. Give me the 5 loaves. Give me the 2 fish. Give me what you have. Give me your talents. Give me your time. Give me your effort. And let me take that and use you to do something great in the lives of others. And he says that to each and every one of us because each and every one of us is capable of doing something great. Whether we are aware of it, whether we believe in that fact, he's able to take something that is, when you're looking at it, not something great, not something spectacular, not something that you think can make a difference, but he's able to take it and use it and turn it into something great. I think we see that in the life and the ministry of Jesus and of the apostles throughout the time that he would work through them, and to know that he works through us today in ways that we can't even imagine. If we would only open up our hearts and our lives to his word and his work to bring the gospel to people in Cusco, Peru, but right here in West Virginia. You don't have to go get on a plane and fly clear across the world to make a difference. You can make a difference right here if only you're willing to give God what you have. Give him your loaves and give him your fish in simple terms. Tonight you may be sitting there complacent, not willing to make a change, not willing to give God what you have and let him do something with it. But he can take your life, however low down you think you are. I mean, things are rough for you. But he can take it and he can change things for you just real quick, before you can even realize what's going on. And you may say, well, yeah, right, but he can do it. He's done it in the lives of so many, and he's willing to do it for you if you would only submit to his will tonight. We invite you to come as we stand and encourage you as we sing together.